I need to get myself a bigger supernova poster. You know what I mean? This one's pretty cool. Looks really awesome. You have all the supernovas up here. No Zoro, however, but it's pretty cool, but it's not big enough, you know? Like, look at this. Like, everything back here is formatted perfectly for that specific poster size, and now you get to see that little rip in my wallpaper, and I know that just brings down the whole quality of the video. I apologize. People watching me like, damn it, Tekking, you know, I was okay when you brought in the brick. I was fine with that, but that little rip in your wallpaper, the illusion is just shattered at this point. Alright, so today we are talking about EUSTASS Captain Kidd. Also Killer, but mostly EUSTASS Captain Kidd, alright? And I think for a reason that most of you could understand, when it comes to these three epic men, the monster trio of the supernovas, we shall say. Luffy and Law, we've seen a lot of what they're capable of. Luffy's the MC of the damn series. We've seen him fight, like, I think like 2-3 fights with Luffy throughout the story of One Piece, like 20 years, I think like 3 fights maybe. So we know what he's all about. Yeah, Luffy's gonna be bringing some new stuff to the table in the Battle of Onigashima. He's got his Ryuo techniques, might even have a new Gear 4th form, maybe Dragon Man, who knows? I'm just throwing it out there. But we know what Luffy's all about. Likewise, Law. I mean, Law's a fan favorite. You know, Oda pretty much knew right away, yeah, we're gonna focus a lot on Law. So ever since Punk Hazard, he's been kind of like a de facto member of the Straw Hats, palling around. You know, we get to see a lot of him during Dressrosa, what his Op fruit is capable of, just the sheer power of that. So we know about Law, and I'm sure Law's got to have, you know, maybe a few more techniques we haven't seen yet, maybe some stuff he's picked up, but yeah, we know what Law's about. Then we get to Kidd. Kidd, we know he's strong. We know he's right up there in terms of power level with Luffy and Law. He had a higher bounty than even Luffy during Sabaody, and that was like a really big deal back then. That was like, you know, Luffy just kept, you know, climbing the charts, but then Kidd had a little bit more, just a little bit. It's like, why does he have a slightly larger bounty than Luffy? And Shockey explained, is like, oh, because he like straight up burns towns down and like kills people if they laugh at him, and they like he doesn't care. You know, like if you laugh at like the whole thing at Mocktown with like Luffy and Bellamy and everybody, and how he just kind of like put the hat on and walked away with Zoro and Sanji, like, it's not worth it. Oh no, Kidd would have burned that entire town down. Like, it's like, you dare laugh at me, you damn hyena. Alright, Killer, heat, torch it. And then, and then, you know, Bellamy would just been like, ha ha ha, and Kidd would have just taken his arm and just like, you know, punk rotten, boom. You know, it wouldn't have been a pretty sight. But, yeah, that's where Kidd's at. He's a little bit more intense, right? But aside from that, like, big, large-scale attack we saw him do alongside Law and Luffy, his Punk Rotten, which to me really did look like him just, you know, his normal, like, metallic arm punch. Like, he gathered up a bunch of scrap metal, made the giant mecha arms, and like, Punk Rotten, boom! So, pretty cool, but that's like the first major technique we've seen him display that was like named in quite a while. Now, it seems like, you know, Oda's going full force with Kidd. I mean, we had the whole thing with Killer and the Smile Fruits, so you know Kidd's out for blood. I mean, yeah, Law and Luffy have their reasons as well. Luffy's, you know, he of course wants to help out Kinemon and Momonosuke, ever since Punk Hazard, you know, the whole story about Odin, he eventually hears at Wano, he's like, yeah, we're gonna take out Kaido. But also, it's a little bit more personal for Luffy ever since the whole one-shot incident. You know, Luffy got one-shotted by Kaido, and he's like, alright, Kaido, alright, that's how you want to play, buddy? I'm gonna get strong as hell. I'm gonna work out. I'm gonna work in this prison. I'm gonna learn Ryu. I'm gonna kick your ass. You know, so it's a little bit more personal for Luffy. Law has, of course, the whole, that was his plan to begin with back at Punk Hazard. He's like, hey, Straw Hat, want to take out a Yonko with me? Which one? Kaido. Okay. So that was his whole plan to begin with, and the whole Smile Fruit, and the Sad, and Dressrosa, and Doflamingo, and the Factory, and it is getting to this point now with Kaido. That's just its natural conclusion. So, yeah. And, but Kidd, though, Kidd and Killer, I mean, like, look, Luffy and Zoro are bros, through and through. But Luffy and Zoro's relationship, they've only known each other for about 2 years. Kidd and Killer, they grew up together, you know, in the same area, alright? And they played together as kids, and they were, like, thick as thieves, and they eventually grew up, and he's like, alright, I'm gonna be the captain of my crew, Killer, you're gonna be my first mate, and we're gonna put on a show. Let's rock the world, Killer! Yeah! Alright, and so then Killer is the, I mean, first off, his name is Killer. Let's just start with that. His name is Killer. He dresses like this. He's got giant buzzing saw blades, like gyro death scythe blades on his arms. And then, because of the Smile Fruit, he was forced to laugh like a, you know, like a madman, like fa 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 fa. And Killer, I mean, Kidd more than anybody knows all about Killer's, you know, his past and everything because they grew up together, and is like, you know, he's always been ashamed of his laugh. He doesn't like his laugh, you know, he doesn't like it. Maybe a little bit more ashamed of his face, too, because we don't know, like, we saw Kamazo, you know, his persona when he's, like, a mercenary, and it's all bandaged up and everything, so he had a messed up face as well. Probably maybe an accident happened when he was, you know, younger. But, you know, he's very sensitive about his face and his laugh, and, you know, Orochi, you know, took those two things away from him. Yeah, he has his mask back on now, but he's stuck laughing and as a pleasure, essentially, and from what we know, there's no cure for that. There's no way you can go back from that. And he also can't be in the water now. He has a devil fruit weakness as well. So, yeah, I know Luffy and Law both have their really good reasons for this, but I'm just saying, like, with Kid and Killer, it's personal to a level that's like, you messed with my best friend. You didn't just beat him up. If you beat him up, I would be mad at you. Sure, I would kick your ass, but you're forcing him to be something he doesn't want to be. I'm gonna slaughter you, like everybody. You know, that's how it is with Kid right now, okay? So, I just want you to keep that in mind. Now, I could see these three initially charging into Kaido and fighting in the throne room. Like, the fight begins with Kid, Luffy, and Law, alright? And it gets as far as it could at that point, and then some other people of the rebellion arrive later. It's gonna be a huge joint effort here. Drake is gonna get involved, you know, Hawkins might very well get involved. You know, Bonnie and Arouge and Beige, they probably won't show up. Apu, I think, is still gonna... Apu is consistently on Kaido's side. Like, he is an enemy for the purposes of this arc. Hawkins will be whatever his tarot cards say. If his tarot cards say, hey, team up with Luffy, Law, and Kid, and Drake, maybe it'll actually work out. And it's a good chance, probability. He'll do it, sure. And then, of course, you got Zoro as well that's gonna join in, sure. But I think the initial fight's gonna be these three. So... what this video is going to be essentially is just me spitballing ideas involving Kid and Killer and what they're really capable of and the stuff I want to see from them, okay? Because we know, like, Luffy, you know, he has a pretty simple devil fruit. Luffy turns into rubber. Likewise, Kid's fruit, also pretty simple. It's magnetism. We don't even know the name of Kid's devil fruit yet, so I'm hoping we get that pretty, you know, sooner rather than later. It's probably just like the magnet fruit or something like that. But, you know, he picks up scrap metal, he adds it to his body, and then he punches things really hard with it. That's essentially what we've seen him do. Also, likewise, you know, if he's up against an entire army of, like, Marines, he can just, like, you know, repel, or he can just draw in a bunch of people, their guns and whatever. It's made of metal. He just draw it all in, and then boom, he just disarmed a bunch of them. Their swords, their spears, their axes, whatever gets drawn to him, okay? So I started to think, like, alright, that's pretty cool, and we could go to the next level with that being, like, just add hockey to it, because that's, like, the next level for everything. Like, Luffy's like, Gear 3rd, I can make a giant fist! Alright, well, what's the next level to that? Add hockey to the giant fist! There you go. So, we can see that. We can see Kid, you know, making the giant robotic arm, all the scrap metal and everything. By the way, I just want you guys to understand how more just, like, devastating that would be. I mean, yeah, Luffy's elephant gun is nothing you want to screw with, but imagine getting punched by a giant pile of scrap metal. You know, like, screws and spikes sticking out, some of it's all rusted, and it's just boom, and it's just like, oh god, it's everywhere, like, so many puncture wounds, and you need a tetanus shot, you know, like, like, not even, like, the giant fist, just, like, Kid could go way more simple with this. Kid already lost an arm because of, Shanks, so he already has, like, a mechanical prosthetic he just keeps active, like, all the time, but you could kind of just go, like, Edward Elric automail with this shit, where Kid can just restructure that arm whenever he wants, and he's like, you know what, I have my regular fighting fist right here, but for you, because you pissed me off, I'm gonna add some, like, spikes to this, add some rusty nails sticking out of this thing, you know, and just, like, it doesn't even need to look like a fist. It could just, like, I just literally have just, like, a mace of just, like, spiky, rusted nails at the end of my arm, and just boom! Or I can make a giant hammer, or a giant axe. It doesn't have to be a fist. You can make anything, right? It just seems like you get some rust, you get some tetanus damage, you get some added damage to this whole thing, right? So add hockey to it, and that just, you know, more power to it, sure. But then you start to think about some other cool stuff he could do with that fruit. Alright. I'll be straight up with you. I thought of this idea, and I'm like, alright, I need to make a video about this. Like, the other stuff I'm gonna mention is just kind of like this. This is the core of this video, alright? Do you know what Kid's, like, ultimate technique could be? like his ultimate power, because it's gonna be more than just I make a giant arm and punch things. Luffy can make a giant arm and punch things too, but he also has Gear 4th, and once again, Luffy taking a relatively simple Devil Fruit, going Gear 4th, and like all that crazy stuff he can do with like his Culverian and his King Kong gun, and like the elasticity increase, like all that really cool stuff he can do in Gear 4th that you wouldn't initially imagine like a simple rubber fruit, right? So I'm thinking, all right, what's like a really cool thing that Kid could do with his magnet fruit that we haven't seen yet, that would be like his version of Gear 4th. Okay, he wouldn't call it that, but something else. All right, I present to you Exhibit A, which is an image of Kid when he was a little kid. You know, just a little tyke playing with a little toy robot, still kind of into the steampunky, like engineering, mechanical kind of aspect of things. Probably grew up in a rather poor neighborhood. What if Kid could turn into a giant robot? I'm just throwing it out there, all right? Ultimate technique. He gathers up. He's going to need a bunch of scrap metal for this. He's going to need a crap ton of scrap. But he just like at the same time he's like fighting Kaido and he's getting beat down. He's just like, all right, screw this. We're going full power with this one. Wire, heat. Turn up the amps. And then all of Kid's crew in the background, the Kid Pirates, because they're basically like a heavy metal, like punk rock, like sort of aesthetic with the Victoria Punk as their ship, and they got that giant, like, it's like a megalodon, like giant shark skull as the figurehead. They all take out guitars and basses and drums, and they're just like, and then Kid's like, and then like all this scrap metal just rises up on Onigashima. We don't know the range of that. There is definitely a range, as there is with most Devil Fruits, just like with Law's room, there's a range. But even with Law's room, he can make a giant-ass room if he wants to. So if Kid really turns up the power of his magnetism, it might like drain his stamina, same thing with Law. But it's like, I'm gonna gather up every piece, I'm gonna every loose screw on this island is coming to me. And just like, he just gathers up all of this metal, and it just covers the sky, and everyone looks up, he's like, what the hell? And it just, boom! It just crashes on him. And it's sort of like, kind of similar to Douglas Bullet from Stampede. I'm not lying to you, but maybe this one looks a little bit different, and maybe we could see it a little better, because I don't know if you were in the theater during Stampede, but kind of too dark for me to see what exactly he was for a moment there. But he gathers all this scrap metal together, and it's just like, he's already made the giant mechanical arms, alright? So that's already an idea, like, okay, giant mechanical arms, giant mechanical legs. He makes, you know, just an entire armor of scrap metal with Kid at like the very center of it, and just like, all right, let's do this. Punk Demon or Punk Devil or something like that. All the while, you know, Heat and freaking Wire in the back, they're still continuing the solo, like, and it's like, yeah! Like, damn, it'd be like that scene in Samurai Jack where they have the giant stone samurai just punch the crap out of a coup, you know, just like, Kaido's like, a giant metallic demon. Really? That's what you guys are bringing to the table? Boom! Alright, you want to bring it all? Boom! Boom! And it's just like scrap metal's flying off. But it might not matter. Because if all the scrap metal just gets flung off, it could just... It's still metal. Like, whoop! And it just attaches right back to him. Like, you could see that. You could see Kaido and freaking Kid, like, clash. Like, their fists just meet, just, oh! And then Kaido is stronger, and, like, the metal arm just gets obliterated. But then, all of the loose metal just right back together, and like, so it's a fist, and then it gets destroyed, and just, oh, you think I'm done yet? Then it's like a giant axe, and just, boom! And he just cuts Kaido with that. Because you figure, like, yeah, like, even if, like, parts of it get destroyed, you know, unless he's somehow negating the magnetism of the metal, which, pretty sure that's impossible, you know, at least anything that Kaido could do, unless he's doing something like that. I mean, you could even throw in the Haki thing, but I don't think, like, Haki doesn't, like, turn off Devil Fruit powers. It doesn't just, like, negate them, alright? So, it just allows you to touch Logias, and it has, like, extra bonus damage against Devil Fruit users and stuff. But even if Kaido were to Haki up his arm and punch Kid, even if he were to obliterate his arm that's metallic, he still has the magnet fruit. He could still just, oh, okay, and then just combine it back together there. So yeah, oh man, I had so many crazy ideas with this. I had another idea where, like, Killer gets in the mech too, and maybe Kid can, like, pick up some cannons or something, and he can add them to the giant mech, and then, like, Killer mans the cannons as, like they bombard freaking Kaido. Oh, like, get the whole Kid crew in there. That's another thing, too, I really wanted to bring up with the video, just kind of like a side thing, is that so far we only know 4 named members of Kid's crew. Kid himself, Killer, Heat, who's the mummy dude that can spit fire, that looks kind of like a mummy zombie, and then we have Wire, who's like the Satan worshiper dude with the really long cloak and like the pitchfork and everything. We see some other random members that are also dressed similar during Sabaody, like way in the background and stuff, but I would like to get to see some more members of their crew, like even with, like, obviously the Straw Hats for Luffy, but at least with Law, we got Beppo, Sachi, Penguin, Jean Bart, Panda Man. You know, Panda Man might or may not be canon here in the case, because Oda always includes Panda Man everywhere. But, yeah, we get a few more members of Law's crew, and obviously Luffy's the Straw Hats. But, yeah, I'd see maybe a few more members of Kid's crew, like somebody else shows up to, like, he's like, oh, I'll help you out, Captain. It was like, oh, that's our doctor, and he could do this, or that's our shipwright, and he could do that. Also, I mean, like, this is just because maybe the Sunny's Gao canon spoiled me, but when you look at the Victoria Punk and you see this damn thing coming at you, do you not want that mouth to, like, open up and do something really cool? Like, I'm not saying firing a laser, because that's kind of, that's once again the Sunny's thing, but I'm imagining, like, oh god, what if, okay, I'm just gonna throw the idea out there, what if Kid, because of his magnet fruit, he made it certain, like, can we make sure there's a certain amount of metal on the ship, so if I want to, I could literally just pick up the ship with my magnet powers, and then open up the mouth and just throw it at somebody. Like, it's like, alright, Victoria Punk, rise! Just comes out of the water and just chomp, chomp, chomp right down on Kaido's head. Yeah, that's an idea. We're going full balls crazy with this one. I don't care, right? Something involving the figurehead of that ship. Just the mouth opens up. I think the mouth opens up to reveal, like, a staging area, like an open area, but still, you could Hungry Hippo that. You could Hungry Megalodon that, right? You could see that. Oh, man. It's just, there's just so much of stuff we haven't seen with Kid, and I'm hoping that's, like, Oda's, like, first foot forward. It's like, alright, guys, listen up. I'm gonna show you what Luffy can do. I'm gonna show you what Law can do, but I have to focus on Kid here, okay? Because Kid, he came to this party, and by the way, the funniest thing here, Kid never met with the rebellion. Kid and Killer never got together with Luffy and Law and Kinemon and like, alright guys, what's the battle plan? No, they just showed up. That's what I like, because it's like, hey, listen, you know, Kaido, we have a beef with him and Orochi for what he did with Killer and everybody. You know, we're gonna kick his ass. Also, they kicked my ass, so we're gonna kick their ass. You guys can have your little rebellion, but it's like, it's almost like they're kind of part of that. They are part of that, but they're not part of that. It's like, we're not part of this whole planning operation. I don't care what you do with Wano. They don't honestly give a shit. Kid and Killer are not going to be like, we don't care who's going to rule over the country. We don't care about any of that. This is personal. Alright, because Kaido beat the crap out of Kid, threw him in jail, and then they did the thing with Killer, and just like, you know what, this is personal for us. So I just love that. They all showed up at the same time, but it's not because of the plan. It's just because Kids is like, okay, well, I'll just use the rebellion to my advantage. You know, you know, they're attacking anyway, I might as well get involved, but I'm not part of that. You know, and then there's the whole rivalry that you have Kid and Luffy, you know, it's like, oh, I'm gonna beat him up first. No, I'm gonna beat him up first. And Law's in the background, like, you're just a bunch of freaking idiots. Can we plan this out first? I could see Luffy and Kid just getting into a mad dash for Kaido's throne room, like, I'm gonna get there first and punch him. I'm gonna get there first and punch him. Get out of my way. Get out of my way. And then they both just jump in to punch him at the same time. Yeah, that would be nice. I threw this idea out there before, but I felt like it bears repeating, because this scene in my head looks so damn cool. I just really hope Oda does it, but it's a combination attack between Law, Luffy, and Kid, where Law creates a room, then Kid gets basically like a giant spike. He makes a giant spike out of scrap metal and stuff. And then you know, maybe you can use his magnetism to like line it up with Kaido. And then you have Luffy using King Kong gun to like pound it directly into Kaido's body. That'd be pretty cool. Actually, now that I think about it, I don't even know if you really need Law for that. I mean, the room would just add more control to the whole thing, you know, make like distractions and stuff, so Kaido can't counterattack or he can't block or whatever, but that would be a really cool scene. Just like Luffy punching a giant railroad spike right through Kaido's body. That's something I'd like to see. Or, like, Kaido turns into a dragon, like, roar, I'm gonna fly, and Luffy and Kid are like, no you're not, boom, and just nails him to the ground. Like, that's one way to do it, right? You know, maybe, oh, yeah, maybe if Luffy can add Ryuo to that, because Ryuo is the only thing capable of, like, really puncturing through Kaido's scales when he's in that form. Maybe also if you target, like, the underside, like his underbelly, maybe that might work also. But the whole point why Luffy was learning Ryuo is, like, I gotta punch through those hard scales, because they're such a, like a tough defense, right? So yeah, giant spiked Ryuo thing, and then boom, just pound it in. Yeah, that's something I'd like to see. Another idea, and I admit we're kind of maybe getting into Naruto territory here with Gaara, and, you know, he was using the sand to, like, control people and, like, the gold dust later to, like, manipulate people and stuff on the inside, but, I mean, I'm just thinking logically here, like, logically speaking, if Kid could get a bunch of scrap metal inside of Kaido, like, he just takes a bunch of scrap and they manage to, like, once again, maybe with the help of Luffy and Law, manage to get a bunch of scrap metal inside Kaido's body. Like, even if it doesn't hurt him that much because he's Kaido, there's still a bunch of metal inside of him, and Kid could just, like, control him with that. Like, I'm gonna defeat, and, like, quit hitting yourself. Maybe not that comical, but, like, you know, stalls his arm long enough to, like, I'm gonna punch you, boom, and then he gets hit. I mean, if you want to go really extreme with this, and this is really Naruto-esque, but guess what your blood is? Iron. There's iron in there. I once again, it's anime logic, you know, so it's like, I can control magnets, and, I mean, I have magnetism powers, and you have iron in your blood. I mean, in real life, no, but in manga, yes! You know, you can see that going down there. But yeah, that's another idea. I don't know if Kid would go that level with it. Although, what is Kaido's, his club, his Kanombo made out of? I would assume metal of some variety, right? I would assume metal. So maybe then we have a scene from Harry Potter where they, like, you know, Wingardium Leviosa, just pick up the club and just smack him on the head with it. Maybe not something, once again, maybe not something that's silly, but, like, you know, Kaido goes to pick up his Kanombo and Kid is just like, no you don't, and then just, like, send it flying like the other side of the room or whatever. You know, like, no you don't, get out of there, and like, oh crap. And then, you know, honestly speaking, if Law, Luffy, and Kid did sit down and plan out a strategy, you know, this could work really well. Like, this could work amazingly well. What am I saying? You know, like, it's like, okay, we do this, and then we go over here, you use your magnets to get his Kanombo away from him, so we can't, like, heavenly Bagara us. Let's do that. And then, Luffy, you jump in with this, and then I'm gonna use my room. Like, the problem is Luffy and Kid would never do that, because Luffy and Kid don't swing that way. They just dive right in, they start the battle, they are trusting their own powers enough, and just like, okay, we're just gonna dive right in and get right to this, you know? We have no time to sit down and do plans and everything, like, strategic crap. But if they were to, and seriously commit a plan to their heads, you know, that could be really devastating for Kaido. In fact, I'm even saying, like, maybe, like, they might have to begrudgingly do that. Like, what happens if they go in, and all three of them fight, and they do all their big high-octane attacks, Luffy goes Gear 4th, maybe he has a new form, Kid does the giant mech thing, Law does everything he can do, and they still get beaten down by Kaido. Like, it's a tough fight for Kaido a little bit, but Kaido still manages to beat them all down, and then the other members of the rebellion come in, and maybe Zoro and Killer arrive, and it's like, alright, we'll hold them off for a little while, and then Kid, Luffy, and maybe get Zoro and Killer in there too. Kid, Luffy, Zoro, Law, and everybody. And they're all like, okay, we need to come up with an action. Law's like, we need to come up with an actionable plan. No, shut up. Luffy, shut up. Kid, shut up. We're thinking of an actual plan, and we're gonna work to the plan, and the plan might actually have a chance of working. Because this diving right in and trying to fight the giant dragon has worked horribly every time we've tried this, okay? We're gonna do this my way now, alright? It'd be like this moment where, like, Kid and Luffy are just like, because Law's been building to this also, the entire arc. Law's just been like, they won't listen to me, this is extraordinarily frustrating. You know, I'm just waiting for the moment to Law to just blow up and just like, it's like, no, I have had it with this crap. You are gonna sit here and you are gonna listen to my plan, damn it. Alright, like, okay, sir, like, the angry, like, teacher, like, the angry principal just, like, yelling at you, like, oh, okay, fine, we'll listen to your plan, dude, alright, here's what we're gonna do. Luffy, you do this. Kid, you do that. I'm gonna do this. Alright, we good? Okay, 1, 2, 3, break, let's go. You know? Okay, sir. It would be funny anyway to see that, you know, just like, all right, let's finally actually do what the tactician tells us to do. Ah, man. Alright, so that's all I got for you today. I mean, I don't know if this was, once again, more of a hype video of me just spattling off my own headcanon and crap, but actually, I think the giant mech thing, that's totally feasible. Like the controlling Kaido with the metal inside of him or whatever, the giant spike thing, yeah, that's more of me, but, like, I'm telling you what, like, Kid already makes giant mechanical arms. His ultimate technique has to involve making a giant robot at some point. I mean, come on, that's just the next step up, really. Alright, well, anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. This is Tekking101 signing out. Later, everybody.